Welcome to Stars Align Dramas and Dreams podcast, where the infinite sky meets the starry world of dramas. We're your guides through the cosmos, from heart-stopping queer love stories to straight dramas of unexpected love.
And every unforgettable moment in between that make us swoon, laugh, and cry. And of course, we'll sprinkle in a little stardust along the way.
I'm Nixie, your drama enthusiast, ready to break down the best and sometimes most chaotic storylines, filming techniques, and the worlds we can't stop obsessing over.
I'm Cyrus, here to delve into characters, themes, and symbolisms that invoke emotions that resonate with us in powerful and lasting ways.
Each week, we'll explore the stellar journey of love, identity, and connection, one drama and one dream at a time. Today, we orbit the series Satellite, where we discuss everything a series has to offer. Our satellite this week is orbiting Spare Me Your Mercy.
So, gather your stardust, find your spot under the stars, and let's dive in.
We begin by taking a look into the stars, where we take a closer look at the synopses that captivate us and the stars on and off screen who make every moment shine. Join us this week as we stargaze into the captivating world of Spare Me Your Mercy. But before we can stargaze deeper, we must start by discussing the basics. Spare Me Your Mercy is a 2024 drama produced by 131 and 1D. This show can be watched on ETE, and it has 8 episodes with a duration of 47 minutes, which makes it approximately 6 hours and 16 minutes long from start to finish.
The synopsis reads, Police Major Wasson is troubled by a rising death rate among terminally ill patients, especially after his mother's suspicious death. As he investigates, he becomes more drawn to Dr. Kanapat, the doctor who cared for her. However, his growing feelings for the doctor seem to reveal unsettling connections to his lover, unraveling a deep mystery. This drama was also based on the novel Euthanasia by Salmon.
I want to say that was a really good synopsis. I want to say this, and we're probably going to break this down in every series satellite that we do, but there is a reason we have a segment where we actually take a second and we actually talk about the synopsis, because there are some atrocious synopsis for some of these dramas, and it is insane.
Some of them are so bad.
But this one, oh my god, I remember, I don't think I actually read the synopsis when I watched the drama, but when we went to make the podcast outline to actually look into what we needed information wise, and you gave what the synopsis said from where we were sourced it from, which I will say is my drama list to properly source where it comes from. I was like, this is one of the best synopses I've ever seen, because it does exactly what a synopsis is supposed to do. It has a who, what, where, why, without a how, because you don't need to know how it's solved or how it's done. You just need to know who is it, which it does, which is the police, which is Q, right?
Mhm.
It also technically brings Dr. Khan, but it brings in where it's happening, which is a small town, typically where like his mom, because
His
his mom's being one of the
hometown.
patients. Yes, and then it tells why he's there is because there is a suspicious death rate happening in the terminally ill patients. So he's like, okay, so something's a little fishy here. And the why, well, it's because part of it also relates to his mother, part of it is the terminally ill patient. So like there's the why is still technically there, it's just mixed in with the others. And so after seeing that and having like find out what the actual synopsis is, because sometimes I dive into a drama without reading the synopsis, and because I knew this was a salmon one, I was like, I don't care, let's go watch it. I don't think I needed to know the synopsis, but knowing the synopsis now, I'm like, that's actually a really, really, really good synopsis.
Yeah.
That is a marvelous, well done, well written. I don't know if it was the original synopsis translated or how Dramalist does theirs. I think it usually is. That is usually the case. But this one came out very well.
It did. I personally know that I did not read the synopsis until I was doing this. Because it took me until logging this drama on my drama list that I realized that this drama was based on euthanasia specifically. Knew it was a salmon novel, didn't connect which one it was.
Guys. So Cyrus, they send me their notes when they're watching stuff, and it was hilarious. watching the series in their notes and go, oh my god, they make me think that this isn't euthanasia. And then literally not below it is, oh, I forgot this was based off of and them making the connection, going, oh, you know what? I subtract my statement, but I will be keeping it in my notes so you are aware that I had this thought process. And so, yes, when they said this was there, that they literally did not know the synopsis prior or that it was over the euthanasia by someone, they are not kidding.
Like, to be fair, I haven't read this novel. I've read a lot of Salmon's other novels, but this one isn't. It's been on my list for a while, and after the series, I probably will go and read it at some point. Haven't gotten there yet, but I will.
Don't know about the time right now, but probably will. The stars that guide Spare Me Your Mercy shine brightly. Let's meet the cast and crew who make it shine. As a lead couple in this series, we have JJ Krisanapom as Police Major Thieu Wason and Tor Tanapod as Dr. Gun Kantapan. Wo Wodawit is the director. He also directed Century of Love, To Sir with Love, and Laws of Attraction, just to name a few. This show has 2 executive producers. Boy Tokon Kit has been a part of so many productions such as Love and Translation, Big Dragon, The Bride of Naga, and was also an executive producer for Century of Love. The other executive producer is Pon Nippon, who also worked on a lot as well. These 3 seem to work a lot together because Pon also worked on Century of Love, The Bride of Naga, Love and Translation, and Laws of Attraction, as well as many more. The screenwriter is Siri Lux Sid Sokon, who has written for a lot of Lahorns, but none that I've personally seen.
There were a lot more talented people who worked on the show, but unfortunately, we don't have the time to talk about everyone. But we would like to further highlight some of our thoughts about the cast and crew.
For starters, I actually did not know that the director and some of the executive producers worked on The Bride of Naga. That was like my show last year when I watched it. I think, when did it come out?
It was released in 2023.
So, yeah, I didn't know that the directors and the executive producers had worked on The Bride of Naga until we did this at all, which was a 2023 release. So, and we watched it. That was my thing back in 24, which, guys, Cyrus, would you like to explain how you ended up watching that series? Just real quick. Just quickly. I know we're not supposed to diverge, but we're going to diverge.
So, Nixie was, as she has mentioned, was obsessed with this show. I hear about every show she's obsessed with ever. So she talked about this nonstop about it. And then, was it a video that you posted or sent me?
I know no, it was the one I posted because there wasn't a lot that you could find in order for me to send them to you, but I had made one, a little short one, because I have a little my own things that I release cuts and stuff, and I had made one over it, and it was the scene where they're outside and the flowers fall on it. I don't remember. He did something with the shadow. It's been a while, but
his shadow
did he try
head
to hug
on
her? Oh no, that's what it was. Yeah, he tried to put his head on her shadow, or using his shadow to make it look like he was, even though he wasn't actually touching her.
He couldn't touch her.
She kind of noticed it. It was so cute.
It was so cute. And I saw it and I was like, fine, I'll watch it. The problem is, this was during June. This was Pride Month. And the entire
So they complained to me that I made them watch a straight drama during Pride Month. And I was like,
my arm.
Excuse you. You walked into that yourself.
She made me do it.
Yourself.
She made me.
I did not make you do it. You saw a single clip.
You forced my hand.
And you were like... That's usually how it goes, though. Goes. But going back into our topic, though, we shouldn't have done that, but why not? If you haven't watched it, highly recommend it.
It's very good.
But going back to Spare Me Your Mercy, talking about actual topics, can we talk about the fact that the leads are precious 9x9 boys? I
Oh,
remember when they debuted.
yes. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my god. Because, like, I don't think they were the first. I think they were the first Thai group we tried to learn the members
Mhm.
for in T-pop. I
Yep.
don't know how successful we were learning them, but I do know those two, Tor and JJ.
Mhm.
I knew them pretty well because Thor. I had never really watched any of his dramas up until Spare Me Your Mercy, but I knew of several ones. He was one of those people that played a cold character, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to see you as a mean character, and so I chose not to watch this series. But JJ, on the other hand, he was in a series called Angel Beside Me. Is that right? Yeah, Angel Beside Me. I think if that's right. My brain's might have to look that up later. But he was in that series, and that's it. But it's funny to me that when it came to the actual like Spare Me Your Mercy, I knew of the series, but there was just out of the blue this one day I saw a clip or something, and I knew Tor was in it. I had recognized Tor. Like for some reason, my brain knew him faster than JJ. And then I was like, you know what? I'm kind of interested. What is Spare Me Your Mercy? And I was looking into clips for it, and I realized JJ was the other lead, and I was like, no, he's not. I was like, oh my gosh. And so I couldn't help it. And I like freaked out that it was so wild that these two who were idols together in a T-pop group now star together. It's like the SB5 situation, except
Yes.
for not all the members get thrown into ships, okay? Like they did. It was just two of them in one single show. But oh my god, that was like, oh my god, I loved that so much.
It's been so long since I personally have seen them, because like 9 by 9 was like one of like the first T-pop groups that I remember getting really into,
Mm.
and just
Them
like
and Rose Quartz.
yes, like they've always stuck with me. I still sometimes listen to Nightlight, and just for
I
this
love
nostalgia
Nightlight.
factor.
Oh, pure nostalgic. Oh my god, that was like literally some of essentially our introduction into T-pop was them and Realize, and then was it 316 as
Mhm.
well, which none of them I think still exist. I don't even think Rose Quartz still exists technically. But yeah, that was that's what that reminded me of, and I was like, oh my god.
Love seeing them again. It took me into like watching this to like realize that like JJ always just kind of looks sad.
Oh my god, he does, and I don't know why.
It's the way his eyes are set. They're kind of set downwards.
JJ just has one of those eyes that he just
Like
looks sad boy.
Nixie mentioned before how I take notes to send her as I'm watching um series, and like notes is a strong word to put it. It's literally every thought, comment that I would tell her if I was sitting beside her watching it, but just typed out because we live several hours apart. Um, and
There's a
like
bit of
so,
a distance between us.
just a little bit of a distance.
But back to what you were saying.
Like so much of like the early notes is just bullet points of JJ looks so sad. Like why does he look so
He
sad?
did. Part of me also thinks it's not just JJ. That character was a sad character.
Um,
Boy was going through some stuff. Whew, he was. It was kind of funny.
Now that we've set the stage, it's time to delve deeper into Spare Me Your Mercy. Spoilers ahead as we start with Drama Deep Dive.
So let's jump into a drama deep dive where we navigate an analysis of key scenes, character arcs, plot twists, and emotional gravity that pull us deeper into the stories we love. So this is kind of, like I said, like Cyrus said, spoilers ahead, and this is a pretty big one in the sense that this kind of jumps pretty far towards the end with Boss and Khan, because one of the things I want to talk about is I love parallels in stories. The different ways people come up with a way to show off the difference between characters while simultaneously them being the same. Like, this is, for example, what happened to one character versus the parallel of what happens to this character with the same situation but different outcomes, kind of thing. For Boss and Dr. Khan, I love that they both were set up as these characters, that they were going to euthanize people, euthanize the terminally ill patients. But the difference is that in their mindset, Boss did it because they were a nuisance. They shouldn't have honestly, exist. He's kind of like they're a problem to the living, not a problem to themselves. They're a problem to the living. To Dr. Khan, he only cared about the patient's willingness to want to be euthanized because they were in pain and they didn't have no choice because it wasn't legal in Thailand to end their life in that situation because they couldn't do anything. They were in pain. They're like, I don't want to keep doing this. I'm tired of this. And so he would actively be like, are you sure you want to do this? And that's why he would do it. Where, like I said, Boss on the other hand was just like, they're a nuisance and I'm helping Dr. Gunn because I'm getting rid of the issue because he also had his father that was in the same situation. So just like Dr. Gunn, Boss had someone, again, another parallel is while I think Dr. Gunn had his mom who was a terminally ill, his mom who was a terminally ill patient, and he suffered with her struggling and seeing how she just didn't want to be there anymore. Like she was suffering so hard. While Balls, on the other hand, he had suffering through his own, like seeing his mother suffer, taking care of his dad. And then that ultimately made him feel like he was suffering. And so he was like, oh, my dad, and then my mom murdered my dad. And so my mom did it to help us. And, so now I'm helping by getting rid of these terminal patients. So I love that parallel presence where it's like, there's the good side of you, like it's like how Dr. Gunn is a morally gray character. You can still debate what he did was good or bad, but he's still I would say compared to Boss is like the good side of the euthanasia and what he did versus Boss being the negative side of the euthanasia. If you want to add anything, feel free. But that was one of the things I really liked about that parallel, especially in this story plot.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big things with me is how much the drama emphasizes the importance of like giving people choices and like
Mm-hmm.
not only like the choices but making sure that they like give full
Understood.
consent and like understand
Mm-hmm.
like what they're doing, and like it's not being made about the caregivers, it's about the
Mm-hmm.
patient themselves, because like caregiver fatigue is a thing, um and like it's definitely difficult to deal with, but it's difficult because you care about your loved ones, not because it's you're just don't want to deal with it as
Mm-hmm.
much. But everyone has their own story. That's
like like you said, everyone has their own story. That was like why Boss had his negative back
mhm.
influence towards terminally ill patients, while Gon had his positive influences to the patients. And speaking of Boss and his bad, backstory and everything, and his influences towards that, how about the fact that Boss literally becomes the very thing that he hated at the end? Which turn of events, Dr. Khan ends up euthanizing him. And so he ends up
Yes.
doing his normal technique of, if you're suffering and you really want to end it, I'll end it secretly, right? I'll be the one to help you. But again, Balls like became the very thing he hated and did all of his crimes for. All of his crimes were purely in that direction, only for him to end up becoming that a terminally ill patient that cannot. He what a spinal injury, right? He damaged his
Mhm.
entire spine, so he couldn't move his torso and his legs, like
Mhm.
lower body. I don't think he can move his arms. Could he?
No, it was below the neck.
Oh, so it was below the neck. I couldn't
Yeah.
remember. I don't know why I thought he had one more something was still accessible, but I guess yeah. So below his head, so he had no way of properly, like, at all.
I don't know if this makes me a bad person, but like
Uh-oh, guys. What does that mean?
I I love seeing fictional I repeat, fictional
Torture? No, I'm
characters
just kidding.
no, panic. Like when it's done well, like seeing panic build in a character, regardless of the situation,
Mm.
I love like because like it's so like many little facial nuances that like really sell it.
It's also
And
the way that panic develops too
mhm.
and plays out. That's very important to how realistic that panicking like moment is. Because how did they get there and versus how they also solve it and like get out of their panicking situation is just so
They can be
it's
like
very
the most
interesting.
powerful scenes. And like honestly, the scene that causes Boss's injuries that lead to him being
Mm-hmm.
paralyzed, it just how it's shot from where we like see like the beginning of the altercation with the boss and Dr. Khan after boss kidnaps and traps the nurse. I don't remember her name. I feel bad about it. Um Om? Oh, something like that. And like Khan is like telling him like, "Hey, what you doing?" And he's like, "I'm just like you." And we're like, "No, you're not." But boss pulls the out the gun that he stole from the director that he also killed.
Mm. Mm.
And like you
I
just
think that
see it.
showed how far Boss really went for his side. Oh my god.
Yeah.
To kill his supposedly loved one? Yeah, a little far.
And then like he only hearing that shot outside
Mm-hmm.
with Doctor Jesus
Teal.
with
Officer
Officer
Teal.
2 and the other officer looking for the nurse and like just realizing that like his lover Dr. Kant is in that house with Boss and like just hearing that shot like oh it's so good. Like I said, don't know if that makes me a bad person, but it's one of my favorite things.
I don't think having an actor deliver really well on an emotion such as something as panic it makes you a bad person because that just sells the story even more. Like you want it to be you want the story sold to you. Like you want to actually believe the characters are real regardless of the fact they're not. But like you want to believe that, okay? You want to full on be like, yes, that panic 100% happened. And that is exactly how that character would have felt. So I don't think that makes you a bad person.
I appreciate that.
Having explored drama deep dive, let's shine a light on character constellations where new stars awaits.
By mapping out character constellations, we chart the growth of our favorite characters, exploring how they shine bright over time, evolve, and form unique constellations with the characters around them.
I think if I want to talk about one of the growths of the characters, we're going to focus heavily on Dr. Gunn because he was kind of the main focus
Hmm.
outside of Q, in the sense that um, he was he's the morally gray character in this entire story, and he is literally the character you can put on a podium and have people debate forever about
Oh yeah.
what he did. Was it good or bad? Was it morally or was it ethical? Like was what did he do and was it like good or bad? Like there's so many debates that can put him in both directions. Um and there's gonna be people that are gonna stand on both sides of that. And so for him, I think one of his what I liked seeing grow in his was that I don't think if it wasn't for Q, actually, to be honest, if it wasn't for Boz, for starters, he never would have been caught if it wasn't for Boss because that
Yeah.
Boss just messed up so badly. One, he didn't understand the concept of euthanasia, so he never even did it right. He didn't know how to
Yeah.
put a patient down without harming the patient. Unlike Dr. Gunn, who knew to put them to sleep so they couldn't feel anything first before he actually made them, their heart actually stop. Um, because it is an actual painful process. You just have to make sure everything's nulled before that, and they're asleep and they
Mhm.
can't feel that. And so the other one didn't know that, and so I don't think he would have been caught. But he was willing to be caught towards the end of the thing, and I think it's because a part of that was he kind of fell in love, and he got to understand to a certain degree the caregiver's
Mhm.
take with Q, because Q kind of represented that side of what's it's like to be left behind and
Yeah.
not having been able to say goodbye. Because a lot of the characters that Dr. Gunn put down, or, sorry, I don't think I should have said put down. That's a bad.
They're not
I didn't mean it
dogs.
like. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that. I was like, I meant it like okay that he ended up that his crimes were faced with all the people he ended up euthanizing. Um, tended to not their family didn't know. Their caregivers weren't really prepared. I think that's something he kind of went wrong with, in my personal opinion. That was morally wrong, was that he didn't prepare the people, which I get why. It was due to the fact that Thailand in this situation doesn't allow euthanasia, and he can't let people outside the person that was passing and his nurse know that he was going to commit that crime in order to help the person. So it was kind of hard to let the. Did you want to say something? That it's going to let the um
Like, there was I can think
there's only
of
one. I was fixing to say
yeah,
there was
was
one.
the
I
one
was I was
where
fixing to say that because like the chief one,
mhm.
I want to say the wife did know. I'm not 100%
She was in the
sure how
room when it
well
happened.
the yeah she was, but that's what I was saying. I think but I think he was okay with that because they were
Mhm.
introduced as an outer part of Thailand.
Yeah.
Uh, they were kind of. I don't know if there's more depth about the tribe or whatever they were essentially. But they almost presented them as like there like for example in Thailand there are several situations where I don't remember what the village name is, but I recently learned that there is a village in Thailand that Thailand lets their like immigrants from Myanmar. And Thailand, I think it's Myanmar. It's either Myanmar or Cambodia. I can't remember which one. And they don't have a citizenship to Thailand at all. They're not technically supposed to be there, but because they have tourist attraction and they make a lot of their living off of the touring and stuff like that, Thailand lets them stay there. And so I don't know if this is one of those situations where they, because they still live off kind of like separated, that he was okay with that because they kind of have their own
Mhm.
society to themselves. So they're kind of blocked off. And so unlike the other ones where he was more careful with like how he like went around and would euthanize them, I think he was more okay with the chief. Now I do want to state back though, you knew the wife knew, but I'm not sure the rest of the family and the rest of like the village or whatever knew, because they knew that he was going to pass, but I don't think they
Mhm.
knew it was because of
Yeah.
Dr. Gunn. It didn't seem
Like,
like
they were
they were
prepared
aware
for
that they
it.
just knew he was prepared to pass on.
Yeah.
Um, so I think in that situation, I think it was really only the wife, unless later stated otherwise, and I just missed it. I don't think the rest of everyone else was prepared for that, other than being prepared that he was going to pass on. I just meant how. Um, but like I said, I think that was the one thing he went wrong about. It's like he went right one time with them, but I think that part of the reason was because they're kind of blocked off a little bit. In this situation, their village is a little bit more isolated, and so he had a more okay risk doing that. And like I said, that's also why I think only the wife knew.
Mhm.
I think that's also because like because it's more blocked off. I say the wife was the only one that knew because she. And I'm gonna rephrase that. If she's the only one that knew, then it was kind of easier to not have to worry about anything. They're already blocked off, and she would be the only one. But what Dr. Hans, like his story behind his had to focus on heavily about the patient's feelings towards their own body, and
Mhm.
they're wanting to give up completely but not having that ability to, versus having killed having euthanized Hugh's mother before he, like, literally the day he came home, which is
Yeah.
very sad, and then having to watch him want to find the person that killed his mother because he 100% believed that it had to be a murder, and he really did believe that it was Dr. Conway's. Newsflash,
Um,
it was.
I mean, he
But
wasn't wrong.
he wasn't wrong. But it was his mother's wish. And I don't know, it was really sad because I do also remember, though, in his final words towards Tew had to do with talking about your mother didn't want you to come back. And he was like, she didn't want you to suffer. She didn't want you to have to take care of her. Didn't want you to have to like move on from the job you could have had where you were at to come to this small town just to stay and look after her. And that's why she wanted to end everything. That and she was in tremendous pain. So it's so it's kind of sad, but then turn around and Q, who's like, well, I follow the law, so like I can't just let you go. Like I can't bring myself to do that because you did commit these crimes, and regardless of where you want to stand in your belief that this was good, by law, it was murder. So um but and then in the end, yeah, poor Dr. Gon was asked, would you go to jail? And Dr. Gon was like, if it's you. And he did.
If you want me to, I will.
He did.
And like honestly, I know I saw quite a few people online talk about how they didn't like the way it ended, but in my opinion, my personal opinion, this was
History
the
trapped. it was
exactly.
it was the Thai version of history trapped. I'm just kidding. I'm
But
sorry.
like this is
Send this man to jail.
I mean, that's what happened. But like genuinely, I think the ending that was presented would be the only ending that would feel true to the characters. Because like the
Especially with
entire
Q's personality.
yes, two
Hmm.
two is was like built up throughout the entire series as someone who like won't stop if like he still feels like something's like left out of the case, if it's not fully completed, like
You
closed,
know how many
if
times he
open
opened that
ended.
same case over and over for
Mm-hmm.
the head, what's he called,
The director.
the director. He opened that case so many times because he's like, this isn't right, something's wrong here. Like, it just justice in terms of Q didn't change as a person in terms of his ethnics, in terms of
Yeah.
how he believes in the law. So it would not have felt right if he did not put Dr. Khan behind laws. Did he change emotionally, and did he understand Dr. Gon by the end? I would say
Yes.
absolutely he
Yeah.
understood Dr. Gon, but he couldn't bring himself to go past his after morals. So therefore, the ending is much more accurately to their personalities, having put Dr. Gon in jail.
Like if two didn't grow at all throughout the series, he would have handcuffed him without like
No
crying.
explanation needed.
And like two balls, they both cried.
They
And so
cried,
did
they
I.
hugged, a vinyl got lost. Did you hear me?
No, it did not.
I said they cried, they love, a vinyl got lost.
Hey, we're not supposed to
That's for
talk about that
later.
yet.
That we'll get there. No,
But
that's
yeah,
so funny to me. But yeah. If anyone got that reference, kudos to you because we're going to bring it up later.
yeah, fun little
But no,
nuggets.
they both changed very much over
Hmm.
time. Was it drastically noticeable? I don't think so, but I think
Mm-mm.
that's more. I think that's more human, my nature, because people don't change drastically unless there's like a traumatic event, and I don't think there was a traumatic event that technically changed these characters that didn't happen prior to the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
Like Q's mother could have been a tragic event, but it all it did was trigger the story plot.
Hmm.
It wasn't a character arc trigger. I think the biggest arcs we had change wise. Actually, never mind. I was gonna say Boss, but he didn't change at all. I don't think he even by the end of it understood the difference between him and Gon. Like, he's right. They both murderers, but there was a purpose. The intention behind both of them was very different, and I don't think he understood the one behind that. The biggest one still had to be Dr. Gon and Q, but like I said, it was more of an emotional
Yeah,
change that you had to like really pay attention to
most
notice. It was more of
definitely.
a gradual
Hmm.
story arc, character arc than anything.
And truly, that is one of like my favorite aspects of the show is just like how nuanced the relationship between Dr. Khan and two is throughout the series. Because like it's never the central plot. Truly,
Mm-mm.
it's not. It's
It was the
always
crimes.
it was two trying to figure out what happened to his mom, and Dr. Khan trying to help the people he felt needed help, who and like the patients who wanted this to happen. And like I tend to, as y'all will come to know, even though love romance, everything but it's a good time for me most of the time. But like I love subtleties because like they feel so much more authentic than it comes to
Yeah.
constant big gestures. And like this show is chock full of so many little things that just highlight how much they learn to care about each other. And like I really appreciate that.
I think it's always something to really admire about a series is the subtleties in things. Something that makes a series more human. It doesn't always have to be the subtle ones. Sometimes the other ones do too. I do want to say that, but those do definitely help a lot.
And like I think the subtle growth and like nuances of their relationship really makes sense with the fact that two truly never fully trusted Khan. Oh,
No,
in the back of the head, he's always like,
absolutely not.
I'm kissing a
He always
murderer.
suspected him uh, till the end, for the most part. Like
Yeah.
I think there was a small period of time where he did stop suspecting him because when he did find him as a suspect, he was like, I wanted to believe you. Like I literally
Hmm.
like started having no doubts for you. I finally was like, yeah, you're not the killer, especially after Boss left. Like after Boss passed, he was like, okay, I finally believe that you weren't the killer because like it took so long for you to get there because like all the way till almost the very end, even to when he had the other investigator to throw him off the case, make it look like he got thrown off, and then went to live with Dr. Gunn and was like, I'm now your boyfriend. I'm gonna live with you, right? So let's live together. And in return, was ending up still working on the case. And like I said, it took until the boss. It took actually. I think he finally believed it. Like oh no, actually he was still slightly suspicious,
Hmm.
even after the accident happened with the gun and he got shot and
Yeah.
Doctor Gunn got shot, and even then he was still suspicious. I think that was something that started turning. I don't remember what was the key thing that kind of, for the brief minute there, did allow him to not be as suspicious anymore. Was it Boss's death? Maybe he wrapped it up and was like, maybe this is it. Maybe because I can't remember. I want to say there was something that triggered a
Boss
momentarily
was
of belief in him.
yeah, because like Boss was like kind of falsely confessed that it was him who killed his mom, who killed Tu's mom.
That's right. He had a confession, even
Hmm.
though it wasn't real.
And then he was supposed to come back like the next day to like finish, and then that night was when Dr. Khan came in and fulfilled Boss's wishes.
So yeah, so it was the announcement of like it was the confession, even though it wasn't a real one. I'm not gonna lie, Boss did make that confession pretty convincing
He
for
did.
someone like Doctor for Q to like believe that for a while there. Um, but do want to say I don't know how. I find it quite hilarious that he made the connection that Dr. Khan was the one that killed his mother when the flower fell from the vase from
Yeah,
the thing
that was ridiculous.
that he had given Dr. Khan as which represented forgiveness
Hmm.
and only to go, oh my gosh, my mom had this in her hair. Wait a minute. And he knew my mom liked this. So someone had to know that was close to her to be able to put this in her hair to make her look pretty and nice before her death. So, like, he made all these connections. And then he tracked down Dr. Gunn and found him over talking with the forensic doctor. And then overheard the whole thing, not the whole thing, he heard the ending part more so, and then ended up like confronting him like, oh my god, how could you do this? It like so it was really you and stuff like that. So I just found it so funny to a certain degree. Like it was, I mean, it was impressive. It was a nice little turn of events where it took the
Yeah.
flower to be like, oh my goodness, it was you kind of situation. And he like all the dots started going there, you know, all everything started connecting. The map started mapping. Like
The map
he
started
started,
mapping.
he made he made he made a realization, and like I do like that. I just think it was kind of funny. And we love funny stuff, so like that's not any hate or anything at all, not remotely. But it was kind of funny that it was the flower, the flower falling, like dehydrated, dead. Oh no, it was him.
Like, that's a bullet point in my little notes. Zeroing in back on the little bullet point that I was talking about. I have that's in all caps. That's what makes the pieces fall in for you too. The wilting hydrangea that you picked and you put in that vase. And I was just like, because like it's ridiculous. It was kind of ridiculous, but like it also, if that's what makes it fall in place for you, more power to you, dude.
More power to you, my dude.
Since we've journeyed through a drama deep dive and mapped out character constellations, let's explore the lens of the universe for one last perspective.
Through the lens of the universe, we focus on the technical artistry behind the drama, analyzing the cinematography, sound design, and camera work that enhance every moment and bring the world of the story to life in vivid detail. Can I bring up my favorite moment in the series? It was a prop misplacement, okay? Or however you want to pronounce it. It was an accident. I want to preference all of what I'm fixing to say is this is not a shot at the series for like how like they messed up their work, how bad. No. I will emphasize that this is something in the film industry um that is very natural to happen. It is so hard to get details right and not mess them up, especially when you're dealing with cast, you're dealing with crew, you're dealing with props, you're dealing with like so many aspects, lighting, cameras. There's so many things that can go wrong, can be easily forgotten. But one of my favorite moments, and I will fully go back to elaborating a little bit about the film industry side, but to clarify what I'm fixing to get into is that in the scene in episode 8, there's a scene where they were, Gon is getting confronted by Q, and he's going off and whatnot. I want to preference this man just got done talking to the forensics doctor about the vinyl cover that he had been given by her dad. And then he goes and he gets stopped. And then he goes and he gets stopped by Q. And somewhere as they're talking, during his explanation for everything he's done and all the euthanization and like his mindset for everything, there is a 2-shot that comes out and it's gone. The vinyl cover that was in his hand, not even there. It is poof, vanished out of existence. My first thought when seeing that happen was, dude, where'd the vinyl cover go? Did you drop it? Did you put it somewhere else and we did not see you let it go? I even made sure to see if like it was behind him, like maybe because his hand was kind of off to the side where it almost could have been placed behind him. But then, literally a few scenes later, there is a shot taken on the opposite side. This is a wide shot taken on the opposite side with both of them in frame, head to toe. On the side the vinyl cover should be on, and it is not there. It is gone. And this is also after they had hugged each other, which if you watch the hug, it's also not there. And then all of a sudden, we get another shot, and the vinyl's back at the end of the conversation. And I don't know why, but when I saw that, I know this scene was supposed to be sad. It was supposed to be emotional, but all I could think about was laughing at the fact that that vinyl cover kept coming in and out. Well, I think it only came in and out once, but the fact that it had been forgotten for certain scenes or certain takes, and I was like, that's so funny. Like, like I said, at the very beginning, I want to preference, again, that is not a hate towards the series. I have a degree in digital filmmaking and video production. I know what it's like to be behind set trying to make sure that you have everything correct, or how many times, I don't think people understand how many times a scene is taken, how many angles, how many like retakes, how many different setups, how many lighting, like even between shots. Sometimes lighting has to be moved around. The camera has to move around. Actors have to wait. So therefore it is so easy for things to get forgotten. And so it's not a shot. In fact, honestly, I admire sometimes the mistakes, because it's like it shows that this was done by humans. Like, it shows, like, it's proof that there was huge effort to make the series
Mhm.
work, and to from the cast to the crew to all the way to the script writers to the editors and the post production. Like, it takes so much help to make a series, and to just make any film thing, something little to something big. I don't think we live in an instant world where people forget how long it actually takes to make things. As someone in a field where people expect editing to happen in a matter of like an hour, sometimes even a few minutes, that's not really possible. You want to throw AI in there, sure, but it's not going to hit what you need when you want
Mhm.
exact moments, exact pieces. You want things cut out, you want things added, you want effects done. You're not going to get that. That's something you're just not going to receive that easily in AI. So it's so easy to make these mistakes. And honestly, I love finding these mistakes in series. Like, I don't know, something about me just like, and I think it's the degree, like me having learned the whole process of filmmaking and stuff like that, having make having learned that made watching dramas just a little bit worse to a certain degree, because I now pick out a lot of things. Like, there's a series, I don't remember which one it was, but there was a Korean BL where I remember watching it, and it was a scene where one was jumping on the other one to do a piggyback ride, and if you look at the very top, all of a sudden I noticed a boom mic got caught in frame. And I guess they didn't notice it. It went all the way through post, went all the way through edit, and there's a boom mic on the top. I even played it back several times to be like, okay, was that a shadow of something? No, it wasn't the tree. It was clearly a boom mic that got caught in frame. And I was like, I love that. I
Aw.
kind of do, because it just adds to like the the part of it that it was something that a lot of people went into effort for. And I'm not saying that a series needs to have a mistake. It does not need to have a mistake. Like, you don't have to have a one to enjoy a series, because a lot of people outside of the industry will, and people in the industry too, but a lot of people more so outside that don't know the works behind things will be like, oh my god, that was a mistake. That shouldn't have happened. You shouldn't have let that happen. Like, the most biggest one in the film industry that was big around the time I was doing my classwork was the Starbucks cup in the Game of Thrones, because this is a fantasy setting and there is something of a modern society left in the shot. But like, guys, they're focusing on doing so many things at once. It is so easy for this to happen. And so to me, the vinyl cover getting forgotten in this scene was just like, it was like, it's not a needle in a haystack, but it was like this little piece of like, I don't know how to explain it. Do you have a way of explaining that?
Like, I
It was
think
so good.
it boils down to the idea of, like like what you said, the the fact that, like, humans, like, real people are, like, behind this, and, like, seeing even, like, things that, like, would be normally counted as, like, a mistake, or, like, something wasn't done just quite right, like, it adds a certain charm to it
Mm-hmm. It
when
really
you, like,
does.
step back and realize, like, this is a project that so many people were so passionate about that they made it into an existence. And, like, without the people behind it, it wouldn't we wouldn't have it at all. And, like, just, like,
Mm-hmm.
the little reminders of that sometimes just, like, add a certain charm to it. And I think that is, like, really prevalent, especially in this example, because, like, it happens in such, um, a, like, emotional moment that, like, just like, these people really cared about what they were doing.
So, going like to what you're talking about, had the passion that they had
Mhm.
to give this segment a better note for people who want to criticize the vinyl thing that I pointed out. On the good side, one of my favorite things about the series was how I think mixed between the script writer and how producer and cinematographer were able to do these suspenseful cuts, and not just the cuts,
Yes.
but like, because like that's an effort between all three of them, because
Mhm.
you have cuts that are done in the editor side, in that's done through the director and the cinematographer, and how it's framed and how it's cut and how the director wanted the emotion to portray that. Like, for example, a really good one would be like, what was it, the chemical that caused people to have the heart attacks? What was it? It was sodium. It wasn't chloride. What
Potassium
was it?
chloride. Potassium
Potassium
chloride.
chloride. When Dr. Gunn had it in his house, there was that whole scene where he was trying to clean up the bathroom and the other one was doing like out there. And like there was this, I think there was actually this scene, I think actually had a delayed one where he was so focused in the bathroom that we see him going out there, and then we get this cut to this one perspective of him catching Tew in his fridge, and then a flashback later of him in there. Like there's this suspense to it, as well as like, you know, I don't think that was actually a really good example. I actually think the opening was the best example because the opening alone was insane. I think I made a voice memo. I love doing voice memos instead of notes like you do. And that is like my thoughts on something, you know, spoken out about about something that I'm watching. And I do those a
We
lot.
love to send
And when
each
I had
other
watched
our
the
thoughts.
series, we do. And I was so blown away by the intro of this series because there are so many ways you can capture someone's attention. But this one was absolutely crazy. For starters, it wasn't a murder of a person. Like it was. We knew it was. But they represented that through the goat, through the man. I don't remember his name. We're going to call him Crazy Joe. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. I was going to for jokingly call him Crazy Joe. What was his name?
Psalm.
Yeah, Psalm. Where Psalm, he was very like, I don't know if you can call it superstitious, spiritual, or whatever, but he was killing the goat because he knew another murder had happened, and he thought, you know, he believed in crazy spirits and stuff like that. But at the time, you didn't know that. So like, there's this cool little parallel, and on top of that, it's you know, it's foggy. I don't remember if it was raining too, wasn't it? It was raining, so we have like the normal suspense behind everything, and then you have like the shots of Dr. Khan as well, standing in the distance with masked up behind things. Hugh seeing that, and then also Dr. Khan disappearing. And so like there's the way the story is written for the screen is very well done. Because there's a lot of times that even though Dr. Khan was the person that actually did all the crimes, it was so cool to see the ones he didn't commit. Because there were several that Boss did, but it was set up to look like Dr. Khan did. And I loved that. Like the one with the fire outside the house where they would put their poor grandfather out there because they couldn't stand his yelling. They put him all the way out there in the shed where they kept their food supplies and stuff like that. All their rations and stuff like that. And they just left him out there, and they set it up to make it look like Dr. Khan did it because he was out in his truck at night. And so we saw that, only to later find out that he had just gone by and had left. Like he wasn't even there when it actually happened. But I loved that setup. That was well done. Did such a good job portraying someone's story into a script form. And regardless if I've read the book, I do plan to read it as well. So I will find out and get my actual thoughts on both of them and compare them later, and how different they are, because there's always difference with someone's books to their to their series, which is not a bad thing. I will admit I actually like sometimes seeing changes from books to series because you have more people putting in more of an in-depth fleshed out than one person trying to figure out a story on their own when they write a novel. And there's more perspectives you can add in versus a novel.
Yes. I was just about to, like, you can work in so many other perspectives. As two individuals who enjoy writing, sometimes it's so hard to convey like what you want to happen
Through a single character.
Through a single perspective, through a single character. Like, yes, you can do.
Sometimes Omniscient doesn't deliver well.
It doesn't.
Either.
Because like
It just
Omniscient works so much better in like visual media, because it's sometimes hard to distinguish a voice in novels through Omniscient point of views. This was a tangent, and we're so sorry.
But for real, like it's well written. I love that for the series. They did a fabulous job. So, like I said, minus the fact that I first started this out on about the vinyl missing and then misplacing a prop, but in actual reality, this is a really thought out, like, and
It was
well put together series. As we prepare to leave the stars behind, let's gather the stardust of our experience and share our final reflections on Spare Me Your Mercy. I know we went to so many tangents already about the series. So I feel like this is just gonna be a modge podge of everything, down from like the characters, the morally gray of Dr. Khan to like the cinematography, like the storyline plot. But that's the whole point of the summary section.
Oh yeah. I can say pretty confidently that like we both went in with extremely high expectations, especially given the prior knowledge of
JJ and
how
Tor. That was enough for me to be excited.
like not even just them, because like they're great and we love them to pieces, but like with Salmon's history of
Mm.
stellar adaptations of several of her novels to screen, like this was just
Especially her
a
thriller ones,
yes,
especially her mystery ones.
like Manner
Those,
of
I
Death,
feel like those are top notch.
Triage.
Oh, Triage is
Ooh,
like,
Triage
I
was
quite
so good.
I don't understand why people don't like Triage to a certain degree, because like people, I get why people think, and I think we thought the same way. It's like, this is a loop. Okay, who wants to watch a show about a loop where he gets stuck trying to save this one person? But it's not what you think. Like, it's a loop, but it changes so well every time. Like, there's different outcomes, different cause and effects, and it was just like, I binged that series. There's only
Oh
been a
yeah,
few series that I've seen where I'm a night person, but if I am obsessed with a drama, I will like day till morning. And I think the biggest like memory wise of series that I have done that with was Triage and Mr. Merman. Ironically, both Thai series. One a La Juan and the
very
other one a
different.
BL. Very different series, but I was so into those series. And I was like I night and day. Like those were so good. I literally for those I had to literally put it down because I had the only reason I even stopped watching those was because like maybe I needed to eat, maybe I needed sleep at that point, or maybe something was going on like at school or something. But
Salmon excels at like engaging stories with like riveting storytelling. Like and she's like really good at like presenting like reflective depth and like raw emotions that are just, as someone who fully immerses themselves in media through emotions, I appreciate so much. I love this. I love this show so much.
as our orbit comes to a close, we thank you for joining us for this episode of Stars Align Dramas and Dreams podcast, where we meet amongst the stars that illuminate the love stories that light up our universe and connect us all.
If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. And please share your thoughts and stardust with us. We'd love to hear your comments, favorite moments, or suggestions of what we should explore next.
You can connect with us in the comments or through our socials, as well as our email that are linked in the description. Let's keep the conversation going under the stars.
Until next time, keep dreaming, keep listening, and remember, love always shines brightest in the cosmos. Bye!
Bye!